Hello everyone, how's everyone doing today? I'm sorry that I took so long to upload a video. I just got some major news by Audit the Audit. He has just released a great update video for you guys, and make sure to check it out in the link in the description. I am going to upload, for this video, I'm going to upload a similar stop where, this man flipped off a cop and this cop retaliated against him. And yeah, this man got a big old settlement from it. He got help from the ACLU, one of the biggest helping hands out there, and it's just great news. All those bootlickers out there, man, they're shaking in their boots. But yeah, let's get this started, shall we?
So, on February 9th, 2018, Sergeant J. Riggin of the Vermont State Police initiated a traffic stop on driver Gregory Bombard in St. Albans, Vermont, because he thought that Mr. Bombard had flipped him off as they drove past each other. Now, at first, the sergeant tried to say that he thought Mr. Bombard was trying to signal for help by flipping off the officer, and Mr. Bombard had no clue what he was talking about. Mr. Bombard claimed that he must have misinterpreted his hand gestures and reassured the sergeant that he didn't intend to give him the middle finger. Mr. Bombard goes on to make the point that even if he had flipped off the sergeant, that would be an act of free speech.
First off, yes, he's personally 100% allowed legally to flip off a cop. Although, they don't recommend it and they want you to learn your lesson in court. Most of the time, judges know better, unless they're corrupt as fuck and they don't give a fuck and they'd rather side with the police. But as you'll see from this video, it's not the case for this man.
Well, the two argue for a bit before Sergeant Riggin gives up and tells Mr. Bombard that he's free to go and walks back to his cruiser.
Okay, so right here, at this point, the stop is ended. So according to Rodriguez versus United States, they can no longer prolong the stop unless he has another reason. Unless he has reasonable suspicion, articulable suspicion that you will, or are committing a crime. Well, this guy doubles down on his escapade, and he flips off the cop and cusses him, before he drives off, and that's the straw that broke the camel's back for the officer, and he just had to prove his point, and he had to assert his dominance and assert his badge. But sorry for interrupting, just had to, state some case law.
As Mr. Bombard drove away, he cursed at the sergeant and intentionally flipped him off. This prompted Sergeant Riggin to initiate another stop on Mr. Bombard, which resulted in his arrest. Mr. Bombard's car was towed, and he was held in custody for over an hour before he was issued a citation for disorderly conduct.
Disorderly conduct? Towing his car and caging him for an hour, putting torture cuffs on him. Imagine being that man in his position just for flipping off a cop because you have a right to. First off, disorderly conduct? Are you kidding me? What about that is disorderly? That's covered by free speech. Any vulgar language is covered by free speech. So that cop must have been just power tripping like a motherfucker, just trying to get this man for flipping him off. He couldn't believe that he flipped him off. How dare he, right? Because I'm a law enforcement officer. I did 6 months of training. Yeah, silly copper. Just kidding. Well, enjoy the rest of the stop.
While this charge was pending, Franklin County State Attorney Jim Hughes added another count of disorderly conduct, claiming that Mr. Bombard had obstructed traffic as he was moving back into the travel lane after the initial stop.
Like, at this point, it's fucking comical. Like, it's comical. They're just trying to fucking make this guy a living hell. Like, this guy's life a living hell. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Another count of disorderly conduct for impeding traffic. How else do you expect him to get into fucking traffic? Like, what? What are you talking about? Pull into an empty street. Why would you pull him over in a busy street? Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like, that would just infuriate me if I was that man and all of a sudden they want to press more charges on me. Like, what? Like, that would be the icing on the cake. Like, you guys have got me so fucked up. Like, you guys are gonna pay. I'll see you in court at that point.
When we left off our coverage of this encounter, Mr. Bombard had both charges dropped, but he was forced to, quote-unquote, donate $250 to a charitable organization because the judge thought that he needed to, and I'm quoting, learn a lesson.
I can't even believe it. I cannot even believe this. He, besides getting all those charges dropped, hurrah, hurrah, all power to you, the judge could not accept that this man could ever even flip off a law enforcement officer, which leads me to believe that she's probably married to a law enforcement officer or has family in the law enforcement agencies, and she doesn't take kindly to people who don't like fellow officers. So, wow, shame on the judge for literally making this guy fucking pay for what? Exercising his First Amendment right? Get the fuck out of here.
That's an actual quote from the judge in his case. On February 4th, 2021, Mr. Bombard filed a lawsuit against Sergeant Riggin and the state of Vermont with the help of the ACLU, and at the time of our coverage, the lawsuit was still pending. Well, on June 26th, 2024, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, also known as FIRE, announced that Mr. Bombard's case had reached a $175,000 settlement, with $100,000 going to Mr. Bombard and $75,000 to attorney fees. In the article, Mr. Bombard said, quote, "With this settlement, I hope the Vermont State Police will train its troopers to avoid silencing criticism or making baseless car stops. And at least now I can pay my criminal attorney for defending me from the bogus charges and take my 88-year-old mother out for a nice dinner."
First off, I'm sorry to say, $175,000 is not enough. First off, for being something so fucking righteous and so disgusting to do, especially by the prosecutor for trying to add more charges to him and for trying to make this guy pay, that's fucking disgusting. I truly feel like $175,000 isn't enough. And be it alone, this man had to get help from big, high-level law agencies. So, imagine if he would have just had normal representation. Things would not have gone so smoothly. Do you understand? And it even took years. So imagine. In regards to the wishes of, the man, they're not going to retrain their officers. Unfortunately, they're not. They're just going to be like, well, sorry, man, you didn't win this time, but for the next one, just make sure you have, a credible-ass case. Make sure you get better, prosecutors. Maybe you'll get a better judge next time. At the end of the day, they still made him pay $250 fucking dollars for that. Fuck the court. Fuck the police. At the end of the day, they know they did wrong, and this man got his bag. Most cops have roid rage, man. And cops like Anthony Reese, where they try to keep their composure, be smart asses, take him to fucking court.
Well, I'm glad that Mr. Bombard was compensated for his troubles, but it's still insane to me that even an open and shut case like this, with the help of the ACLU, still took over 3 years to come to a conclusion. This just goes to show that even if you are clearly a victim of police misconduct and you have the resources of essentially the most powerful civilian rights organization at your side, it can still take years for any meaningful progress to be made.
Listen, man, even in my case, honestly, I don't blame Anthony Reese for pulling me over. He was probably having a bad day, maybe he just couldn't fathom the fact that someone could ever flip him off, for nothing. But at the end of the day, I always say, I don't have a problem with the officer. I have a problem with the badge, the thin blue line, thugs. It's us against them type of mentality. There are some cops out there that genuinely need to be reprimanded, need to be held accountable. And then there's the sheet of ignorance, that sheet of ignorance that people just are so blind to see that there is tyranny out there and that there is injustices out there, and that supporting channels like this one, where they criticize the actions of the police, are seen as anti-American. What type of mindset, sheep mindset, do you have to have in order to not see people's rights being violated daily? Check out Audit the Audit. He has great videos on there. Check out the Civil Rights Lawyer, Honor Your Oath Civil Rights Investigations. There's a plethora of channels out there. The Batusai, who's made Turner v. Driver, which is established case law for recording the police. If auditing wasn't a real thing, explain that. Explain the case law that's been established. Exactly. Bootlickers will continue to just ignore the plain obvious because it's plain ignorance. But at the end of the day, the people that know, they know. Have a great day.